Check, can they hear us?
Yes. Okay. All right.
So just to let the public know that's on Zoom, Zoom is done as a convenience. We do have technical issues at times with Zoom. It's not a requirement that we be meeting on Zoom. If your concern is that you're not hearing things or to be here, you should come in person because we've been Zoom attacked before. So this is strictly done as a convenience.
So just for the our listeners' convenience, just a quick recap. We discussed issues with line of sight, looked at the overview and overlay of those improvements versus the existing tree line. Talked about moving up the menus that were proposed at the right next to the road, push those back. The closest point used to be 60 feet, now the closest point from them is 240 feet from the road. In the parking lot up, we had a turnaround at the lower parking lot, move the car shack up further from the road. Had screening trees along Rubber Avenue and along Brighton Road, close to the east and south of site lighting. Again, site lighting just on the main road. Haven't call out specifically where the control for these would be. My suggestion would be one at the caretaker's house and one at the event center, possibly switch the guard shack as well. The metrics show lighting really continues to really just the road itself and small and the parking areas too, with no overflow of light at anywhere there. The landscape plan, which we touched on briefly. Show what we're doing here. These landscape trees are there specifically for screening. Given the nature of the site as a summer camp, we kind of shoot going with a full-blown, detailed landscape plan in favor of just having the natural flora of the site be represented by really what's existing at the site, which is the majority of the site is a pretty dense. That I believe a lot of comments that we got from the previous meetings on the site. The traffic. It's not on here, but the traffic report that was submitted to the commission. A couple conclusions. First is that there is from the areas we can see improvement. Second is that the line of sight those entrance is within acceptable limits for line of sight at entrances of the sort, provided that a triangle at that entrance is maintained and kept clear so that you view section. And thirdly is the recommendation that Travis has found that the majority of cars on this road are traveling quite often towards the speed limit 25 miles per hour. So they did suggest some sort of active traffic active speed limit signs at either end of the property. One of the signs that have traffic speed and flash at you as you're driving past it. So we will have a place out there, and there may be school buses driving down the road at certain times. We'll get into some of the improvements on the buildings that we proposed. But firstly, I think get some comments from the engineering department regarding mainly grading and drainage. Specific concerns to the driveway, which being that this driveway is, sort of floors over 3,000 feet long. This is really the main site is taking up most of the site space. Just going through the road up to the site. The comments consisted of really the main concern was road safety, and that the micro pools which are proposed here, and further detailed on the detail sheets. We have them 4 feet off the curve of the road. The town engineer suggested that this might be a safety hazard, so as a, it's not shown on the plan yet, so just got these comments yesterday, but we do kind of feel that these detention basins should be pushed back a little bit further, at least so that they're at the edge of do a better job of catching water as it runs down by these this new grade. With the capture, slow down, and treat the water off with a settlement forebay and a wet micro pond, which are detailed in the site details. He also suggested adding guardrails in areas where we've got some new grade, which there's fishing on site to relocate, kind of flatten out these detention basins, which are spaced every 100 feet along the riverline. So in upcoming, either if this is approved, we can make this conditional. That's something that we can use. There's site to address these challenges. In addition to that, pulling the detention ponds further away from the road, some guardrails were also suggested. We have a few shown here. I would like to talk to Jim to kind of get a better idea of where specifically you'd like this going. Right now we have them around the turns. I think my guess is that we'd like to extend it down so that it's graded a little more severely, have proper protection. This is control.
Can I just a question, because I was with Jim when he was doing this, and we went over this. He was not able to be here this evening. And so what you're saying is all these plunge pools going along the road, they're every 100 feet.
Yeah.
And what we were discussing is how deep are they, or what's the depth of them? That they're just off the road and every 100 feet on a gravel road.
So the plunge pools are, telling them is that they should be 3 feet deep. They have 3 outlets. So this is shown a little more severely than it actually is. We have 2-1. We should have 2-1 slopes coming in. This pipe is the culvert. That's there's one on each side of every road roadway, connected by a culvert. So that's the uphill side of the pool and flowing down the side. Down the side is 3 means of discharge. First, the first is that we're leaving 1 foot of water being able to stay within the pipe, or within the detention pond, which we infiltrate the soil. Second is a smaller pipe that lets water out slowly. The third is a 6-inch pipe that takes water out more rapidly in case of heavy storm events. And the third is an emergency overflow. Now, the calculations that I submitted, the structure doesn't use the emergency overflow. A 100-year storm just by using the filtration to private center. Again, we distributed these over the course of the roadway in order to avoid kind of having a large collection basin. We do have one of those on site at the top of the hill where it's more practical to have it to flatten grades. As you get down the hill, and, you start having descent the hillside, have a large centralized detention basin, which will give them that. Also, concern where I'd rather not have a large pool of water, within the hillside in case, some emergency happens. So 1,000 storm comes by, and distribute it, allow to have a more controlled outflow. Kind of mimicking what the probably is now, where it's a distributed outflow along the lower border of the line. Concentrating the outflow during the stream storm events. Consequences that the distributed system micropools, treatment system of grass strip and grass swale in between. Each micropool also has a sediment forebay on the hillside, which allows water to flow into this forebay, fill up and spill over a river embankment before it gets to this main. There's not a purity of the actual roadway. The crown, distributing the water to each side, goes to its grass, 4-foot grass filter strip, goes to sediment forebay, goes into the detention system, and then out of the outlet control structure.
So rather than the subsurface, you're proposing pushing it back further? Is that my understanding?
Rather than the subsurface detention system, the contact system that we install into the road. Yeah, well, based on Jim's comment, I think that would be structure, just a little bit further away from the road. These are structures that will allow surface water to be accessible to wildlife. They could themselves become features. Infiltration rate. That's the frequency of rainstorms. That's a more beneficial use of stormwater. In the ground and laying it.
Has Jim seen that proposal yet, or?
No, I received Jim's comments yesterday, so I had a chance to respond to them formally. But just going over the plan. His comment about the site safety it's definitely acknowledged, so. What I would expect to be able to move these pools, for example, down, further down.
Well, what we had seen was the swale on each side of the road. And what we thought is the swale is what's feeding the plunge pools.
This is correct.
So that's why we were wondering where it was showing that the plunge pools were kind of right up against the road. And we said, that's a big drop right off the road where you should have had, where we have the swale and then it goes. So we were wondering that.
So with the
what you're describing.
So with the regrading in place, you'll notice that the actual natural swale is being created here. So letting these push pools further into that swale and working with the natural landscape and proposed regrading of the road. Can move these into a more optimal position to catch, slow down, and contain stormwater, as well as pulling further from the road and increasing road safety.
And you don't think that the grade of the slope of the road entirely is going to be an issue with the gravel road?
By issue, I mean, because we're within, we're at 8% pitch for gravel road right now.
Yeah. I know you just got this yesterday from me. Or even it was this morning or yesterday, I can't remember what I sent to you.
No, it was yesterday.
But he does talk about the 8% rate.
Yeah. We are within acceptable limits for a gravel road. If we trying to address the actual grade of the road and lower the grade, that's one question. If we're trying to address the grass swale, that's kind of what I'm talking about right now. In regards to stormwater and 8% grade and gravel road, the grass swale on either side of that road will serve purpose of eliminating some of the runoff from the washout from the gravel. So will the sediment floor bed, some cement solids that might go off the gravel. And if we increase the distance, increase the size of the grass swale, 10 paces from the road, then
I think the benefit would be is again, you to speak to Jim.
Yeah.
And we're still working on designing that a bit based on Jim's comments.
yeah, I do agree. Because there's, I mean, I have access to CAD files on this, and he did make a comment about some of the grades, especially steeper than 2-1 slope.
Yeah,
By just with the benefit of me having CAD files, I was able to go through and check, and from I can see the CAD files, we are at a 2-1 slope. So I just that's a discussion I have.
but we did have concerns, and we were talking about school buses doing this.
Yeah.
So that's where we were concerned about the drop off. There's a swale, there's this.
So by moving the attention pools back, flattening out the swale, and putting that these pools further away from the road should helps address that situation. Everyone, any questions on what I've said so far? Next, I'd like to talk about some of the modifications. It's an opportunity last.
Since you did talk about Jim's memo, there are other things in the memo. Are you?
Yeah. I'll address this. I wanted to address the stormwater one because part of the account responses that I submitted has to do with these micro pools and systems. So I provide examples in there from the Connecticut Stormwater Manual, along with the details that we add to this drawing. Because one of the comments was, if I could provide a real world example of these micro pools we use. I couldn't find any because frankly they're not the flash or glamorous or not really something I would expect to see as a subject of the study. But there were very useful diagrams from the Stormwater Manual, so we incorporated that into the report. And we didn't modify these because while these are legitimate micro pools, the diagram had a sediment floor back, so we did add a sediment floor bay to these micro pools, and it was bring it into compliance with the actual diagram definition of the Stormwater Manual of a microjet system.
Yeah, so Kyle, what we're gonna recommend is that you sit down with Jim and go through this detailed
Yes.
report. And, Jim needs to come back to us and say to the board that he agrees with everything we're talking about. And if he doesn't, then we definitely have issues.
Yeah, of course.
So it's,
Jim's review I did send to you, I think, today.
Yeah.
So we had just gotten it from. Right. So there wasn't a lot of time to
no,
discuss.
that's fine.
So there are a few other items in there about the parking areas.
Yeah, so I don't want to spend time here addressing questions that I don't have answers for yet, but the questions that Jim had, Mr. had, were mainly the construction of this parking lot, what it's made out of, what's this roundabout made out of, and detailing for that, and so looking at handicap spaces on the parking lot itself and providing handicap access from the parking lot to the playscape. Some of that's addressable, or just like Ted mentioned.
Commissioners, do you have any other comments?
Sure.
at this point?
Just briefly, I want to go over the event center, since that was the
time. Want this? Small?
Well, if you guys are using that, I can do that.
No, I'm not using it.
I it looks like you got something to get.
We do all have this.
Yeah, I know you guys have it. Pretty good. Is there any way you could put it on the screen and share the screen?
I don't have it.
That's okay. I will do my best. I have 2 copies.
I should take 2 copies. That's all day today.
But I do have the, this is the proposed exterior elevation, that this is the rendering of the event center. So really, most of the changes were arguing with this client. We turn to, 100, drawing with the event center on it. What you'll see is that, first floor plan of the event center. The main change in this is that at Plan North, we add serving area offshoot, which connects directly to a proposed kitchen. And we relocated the bathrooms to the Plan South side of the building. There was comments and questions about how serving was going to be done, what the flow is going to look like. So we hope that this provides some clarification for you guys. The kitchen can enter the serving area through an outdoor, where campers can line up, get their food, and then go sleep in the sleep area. That's all I wanted to cover about the buildings. You guys have any questions about that? Good job.
If you don't have any questions, technical aspects of it, we'd like to back to the, we just got your comments.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll recommend that you guys sit down with Jim, go over all his comments, and then be prepared to discuss it in detail at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that was our intent.
Okay.
Typical, but we received the comments from Mr. Carter, and we were able to respond to them in a timely fashion. We haven't really enough, but now we just wanted to take a look at them. One of the things that Kyle said about the site, which is kind of important, is that it's heavily densely wooded. There's a couple large hayfields. I was just looking at the report we had for the Wetlands Commission by Ian Cole, and I'll spit that as part of the record tonight. But it describes how heavily wooded the site is, and that's from all the way to the borders, and significantly overgrown it's gotten over the years. And when they look at the site and the photos in there, the roadway that is proposed as you go up, it's literally there's heavy tree growth throughout. That's been all part of that site for years. Hayfields, there are some of the properties that are hayfield. This proposed report describes them as overgrown as well. So I'm going to submit that in for the record.
Okay. And then the only reason I wanted to bring up Jim's comments was because I just wanted to let you guys know that there were quite a bit of comments there. Most of them were pretty.
I did have a couple of questions that I wanted to talk with Jim. When you relocated the playground,
Sure.
and you moved it out, I'm trying to remember, before, was there restrooms down below before?
Yes, there still is.
So there was a restroom before down below,
Yeah, there's a restroom before the pump station.
Yeah.
Where it pumps
and the pump station pumps back to
the pump station pumps back to
the
this.
regular line.
These are to the right, the gravity that's the line right at the cylinder.
So is that, I couldn't find that line. I saw the pump station, but I couldn't find a line going back up to the sanitary line, and maybe it's the size of the drawing, I couldn't see it.
So it's hidden within the road. So the pump
Okay.
station goes from the restaurant to the pump chamber, and then that curved dash line goes within the road and follows the
Okay, that's,
two more section here. The sanitary, it's the sanitary.
yeah,
sewer.
okay. I just wanted to make sure.
So I will open up public comment. Anyone from the public that would like to comment?
Yes.
Come up, state your name and address, and address the commission, not the applicant.
Thomas Wargo, I live on 1050 Rubber Avenue. Okay, mine's gonna be short and sweet. I thought I spoke about
Address the commission.
committee. I made a comment about the potential of coming in from Andrew Mountain Road. The answer to that was, well, our client likes Rubber Avenue. That's kind of ridiculous. That's a ridiculous reason to not want to do a third of the work, especially now they're making all kinds of fill and everything else to try to make the monstrosity up the side of the mountain work out. There's somebody else right across from that monstrosity that has a problem with it. It's a road to all of the activities on top of the mountain. Why do we want to come from all the way down here to get all the way up to the top of the mountain where all the activities are and where the major portion of what's going on with the YMCA camp? The Andrew Mountain is a heck of a lot closer. I talked to them about potentially cooperating with our land that borders Wilmot's land. There's another land up there that isn't part of Wilmot's, and that's where that steep slope is. And, you know, with all of the activity now to try to make this thing work on that slope, I'm using probably the wrong terms, my sister's a landscape architect, she knows better. Grades, I'm sorry. You know, and we're doing all this work on the grades. I'm just saying to myself, why? I don't understand why. It's something that's agitating for no reason. And it seems to me like the idea of this is to kind of make kind of a quiet private camp for kids, not a circus. We talked about that the last time we was here. So we got a nice quiet thing up on top of the mountain. What are we doing? Busing in 150 buses? Andrew Mountain Road is perfectly good. It's been redone completely just about. There's only that one sharp turn when you're coming off of Rubber Avenue and you get to the top and you make that one hard right. The school buses don't have a problem going up there. I would say if you had to go past that hairpin turn, then I would say we might have something because that's like this in the snow, whatnot. It's not easier to do from Rubber Avenue. And it's a huge monstrosity now. And it has a parking lot down there. What do I do? Parking the kids down in the parking lot and busing them up to where the activities are? You know, and this thing kind of looks to me, and I don't need to be conspiracy theorist, but you know, it's almost like, well, we'll get this road in, and then maybe if things don't work at the YMCA, we'll make another monstrosity, like a condo complex. Is that the idea? Because now we got the road. I don't know about that, all right? But those are my concerns. And I just wanted to voice it very strongly one last time. I want you to look at Andrew Mountain Road, for real.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment?
Oh, it's true. Oh, you, so I need to, it might be, yeah, sorry.
I think that just open that up to the first of the grading plans. The real problem with the whole presentation tonight is the crowd couldn't see anything. So they're not associating the pictures with what's being discussed. It's kind of hard for me. I came in at the last minute. I did get a chance to look these online and I can read plans, being a landscape architect, but I don't know if you guys had any difficulty understanding or seeing this right now. Couldn't hear anything. Oh, I didn't hear even that part. Those are yours. Those are yours. So let me just sign in. I was gonna try and turn the plans, I will just discuss this with you guys for now. So it's being grade 1060 Rubber Avenue. Landscape architect, so work with plans, everything, new submittals, everything from commercial to residential. I did ask a question last time, and I believe I was answered with the fact that they're using LiDAR mapping. When we submit a plan set for approval of any kind, we generally attach to our plans with base information was obtained. I was told that it was LiDAR. I'm not sure if it's notated. I couldn't find it on any of the plans. But generally, that's kind of a standard note you have to on your plans. All base information is obtained from such and such a location or from such mapping, tax mapping, what have you. I have no problem with LiDAR except that it can be imperfect. The open areas are generally okay, but once you get into wooded or even sometimes there's weather obstructions, the only reason I'm concerned, LiDAR is very good base information, but if there are irregularities and it's missing anything with extreme grading, this is not the grading. This is utility. I'm sure you all saw where the grading was occurring. Up top are actually not all that bad. They do get awful close here, and if there are any irregularities, the potential for it to invade onto the neighboring property, which belongs to my father, is there. Also, the direction of flow seems to be maintained here, but he has a huge concern for this wetland, which I'll get into later. That is an old existing drainage agreement between the Wilmots and the Sawchucks, which was my great-grandfather back in the day, where they were sort of directing stormwater there. It infiltrates into, you can see it on the grades a bit, there is a ravine basically that goes down here, an intermittent stream. And my father wanted me to mention that his concern is now that it's no longer an agricultural use, that drainage onto his property be stopped, because over the years he's diverted when it's gotten down to his property back onto the Wilmot's property, but now that it's no longer a farm use, he'd like to make sure that the new owner take care of that issue. Moving on from there, these grades not being too bad, but you're getting into these grades here, which are, they appear to be almost 2 to 1. So, you know, for every 2 feet, you have 1 feet. It's just, they're extreme. They're almost like a wall of grades. That leads to my concern here as well. This is draining directly onto this street. Also, I know I've been told that the water is supposed to be directed into these little rain gardens, and then it will be piped under the road to the other side, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of pitch that's telling me it's being directed there. I see a tiny bit on the edges that's sort of directing it, but this 2 to 1 slope, this right to the road, the velocity increase alone, I think is gonna overrun the road in those areas, and I think it's going to increase the velocity here. These are smaller areas. Again, this is 40 scale, so every inch is 40 feet, so it's significant. Once you get down to the bottom, you have more intense grading. I think this is why I couldn't see the presentation, why there's no longer any accommodation for overland flow here, because there's just no room for it with all the grading. At this point, trying to get a pond in this kind of slope is going to be very difficult. In this particular case too, it sort of conveniently cuts off that the wetland is right here, and that this drainage is probably all going to flow into that existing wetland. And these slopes are, again, 2 to 1 or very close to 2 to 1 slopes. So we're talking about this, and the amount of water is probably not being increased, but the velocity certainly is. Just a concern. So back to the general notes I have here. The mapping is, again, when we submit, it has to be indicated. Just be nice to know. And also a survey will very specifically locate grades with no error. So that's why we like to use it. So we have a survey, you're guaranteed the grades are correct. I believe the stormwater calcs may need to accommodate the new grading, which also, due to extreme slope, will impact the velocity and direction and possibly impact the neighboring wetlands. I'd also love to know how we're going to deal with the erosion control of those extreme slopes. There's no walls being indicated that I can see, but the slopes themselves usually need to be, they need to be accommodated with some sort of erosion control matting, plantings, etc. again, these are extreme roads. They're not standard. You can't mow those. Maintenance of those slopes is also a difficult thing. You need to have something on there that you can maintain. The question of the excessive length of the cul-de-sac, this is kind of technicality, but it may apply. In our experience, in our office, the standard in Connecticut is for a max length of 500 feet. We're dealing with 3,000 in this particular project. Waterbury allows 750, and I believe Oxford allows as much as 1,500 linear feet of cul-de-sac. This is double that, so it bears looking into for safety reasons. Oftentimes it's just quoted, there's higher rates of traffic accidents with children, and this is going to be a use primarily for children. Crime and isolation, I'm not going to get into that, but it's just something that someone should look into. Curious, I know there's a system in the buildings for fire control, but I don't see anywhere where they've located a fire hydrant. I don't know if we need to accommodate a fire hydrant on the site. There are several structures, including an events building. So fire hydrant seems to be a necessity. And then getting into the landscaping, only because I'm a landscape architect, it means quite a bit to us. We provide these daily. It's not a typical landscape plan as would be provided by a landscape architect. A single row of green giants with that kind of spacing does not constitute a buffer by any means. It's kind of just thrown on there. Typically to provide actual buffering to neighboring properties, i.e. separating residential from another use, which in this case is going to be pretty intense during the summer months. A mixed evergreen buffer, generally staggered with deciduous material as well as a variety of heights and sizes will better buffer neighboring properties and blend in more aesthetically with a natural environment than a single row of green giants. It also, mixed material allows for greater rates of survival in that buffer so that it maintains itself. While the green giants are deer resistant, you have a single species, if something gets at it, the whole line is gone. So your entire buffer dies in one shot. Let's see, Greater says offer, also they offer more four-season interest and guarantee screening during the winter months, and will provide neighboring residential properties with the screening that they desire. Again, we are looking for something significant, and although my father's property, for instance, which is over here, is wooded, you see that it's primarily on his property that it's wooded. So should he decide to do anything over here, should someone decide to build, there is zero buffer going on here for future use. While we right now aren't using it, there should be a buffer between uses, and standard across the state is something significant. Again, a staggered row of evergreens, something mixed in for looks, just because it's your town and you want it to be beautiful. And I think the neighbors would appreciate it as well. The historic drainage agreement I was talked about already. And again, I may have missed something because I came in a little bit late. Were there any examples of the stormwater system given today, successful examples? Where they're functioning and actually working.
No, just directly the questions to the commission.
Sorry.
Kyle, do you want to answer it, or do you want to wait till?
I can answer. So again, the micropond or multiple pond system example was taken directly from the diagram for the group. The request for a specific study on this type of detention system was very easily found because it's not a dynamic robust system that's both storage systems, both technology and advanced systems. It's just a series of bolts. So having a specific study on this was so instead took the diagram from the stormwater manual and indicated how a food grid was. So
That kind of doesn't answer my question. We'd love to be assured that that system actually functions and has been tested so that we can use it without working. Where is this? And really, I'm just wondering why we're considering this whole thing in a piecemeal fashion. I'd like to just have one set submitted, completed, and then look at it all together instead of coming back each time with additions. Those are all of my questions for this evening. Again, I actually love the use. I think this could be beautiful. We design this stuff all the time. It could be it could accent the town, it could be a wonderful amenity for everyone, but it's- being a designer, I like to see things just, you know, a little bit more design, let's just put it that way.
Okay. Appreciate your comments.
Excuse me, what was your problem with the driveway?
Oh, the driveway in particular, there's grading on there when
You
we,
said it was 3,000 feet.
it is, oh, you're talking about the
versus-
cul-de-sac.
Yeah, versus Waterbury 700, what is
A
that?
cul-de-sac, a standard cul-de-sac length, just a standard for the state of Connecticut, is generally about 500 feet.
That's in state.
Yes, Waterbury, for instance, says 750.
What's Naugatuck?
Naugatuck doesn't have, Naugatuck is missing a lot of regulations.
Okay.
We're missing a lot of, that doesn't mean we should ignore the problem.
Right,
I mean,
okay.
we shouldn't fall behind. There's reasons that they've been developed and they're worth looking into, and maybe our regulations need to be revised, but it's something to look into and just to know about and the reasons why, so that we can always look at these projects with an open mind. And
And
the
what was your other issue about somebody building on your father's property?
nobody building on their father's property. If he has a piece of land that directly abuts us, most of that forested land is on his property because it's open field on the one side. So we're supplying this forested land that's being talked about. But should we decide to do anything adjacent to this property, there's no buffer. There's no buffer at all. The buffer should
So,
be
so they're gonna be
supplied.
responsible for your buffer?
Generally, an applicant who is applying for a new use or looking for a new, we're mixing uses here. We're having something that's pretty high intensity. It's not residential. You're gonna provide a buffer for the neighbors. This is not a new thing. This is what we do for every town. If we put in something commercial, if we put in something that's, you know, municipal for the school, we always provide a decent buffer to neighboring properties, particularly residential, and this is so residential. So that's one of the things. And the gravel driveway, I think, is typical of a campsite. Some concern because it is 8%, it is gravel, it's loose, washout, those kinds of things. These are all things, again, I think this thing could be beautiful, but I think all the questions need to be addressed, the design needs to be perfected, and maybe we can have something nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Contra 1346 where we're at. I heard about this from Eileen. I have come to this before. She was telling me about it. Honestly, I love it. Please take the neighbors' comments and concerns into play, make some changes for buffers and whatever needs to be done to satisfy the direct neighbors. I'm down the road a little bit, but honestly, I love it. We need it in town with what's going on with Hartford with 1802 or 8002. This could easily be 500 units, just like they were trying to put across, and this condition wouldn't have a saying on it, and if Hartford gets this way. So let's get this in here, make the changes needed, hopefully, but it's a good plan with some minor changes, and I hope to see it approved, and my son will look forward to playing on that playground down there, because we have very poor playgrounds in Naugatuck, so a nice new one, so I won't have to go to Middlebury or Brookfield or Southbury all the time. It's making a nice, well-maintained playground that we don't have in Naugatuck. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to make a comment?
Three copies.
Yes.
Why don't you guys share two each, and then I'll take one back for the file.
My name is Christina Gordon. Spoke for you lovely people at the prior hearings. I live at 1131 Rubber Ave, which is sit with this structure right here, almost immediately across from the single point of entry. So the exhibit package that's before you is really a blow up of the lower kind of easterly portion of the site, sort of the entrance portion of the site. Grading plans can be a little hard to discern. They're flat, but sort of in this area here, I've provided a diagrammatic section of what existing grades, which are already very steep, versus proposed grades are going to be with some scale figures. It's quite extreme. So essentially from this retaining wall that they're creating to create a level area for the playscape, heading down towards the road, they're growing the steep pitch from about 18% up to 35%, which is significant. And what's also quite remarkable is that the prevailing grade is discharging to where we don't have any presence of these micro detention ponds. So there's literally no drainage mitigation proposed downslope of this very steep hill that's being proposed. There's a couple of other sections shown down here where the wetlands are. It's almost as much as 50%. I have a question for the commission whether this extensive sort of grading proposal and driveway within the upland review pushes the applicant back to Wetlands Commission for approval, or if they've already been there. I'm a little uncertain as to the sort of sequence. I appreciate the applicant sort of hearing our concerns and relocating the playscape kind of deeper into the site. What they've effectively done is kind of switch the playscape with the parking area. There's been a lot of discourse about the existing vegetation sort of providing adequate buffer to these commercial uses, these amenities being offered. If you flip to the next page, there's sort of a graphic overlay. I can't point to it here, but essentially the large sort of growth area that's in the center of the meadow is going to be wiped out by the proposed grading, the playscape. I don't see how it can be retained. So it's effectively going to disappear, but yet no landscaping is proposed in its place. And the last following are some images taken both from my property looking towards this general direction, and then inversely kind of standing here this morning looking north towards my property. The sight lines that were provided by the applicant are helpful. However, they're taken kind of right at the road edge, which is not indicative of our perception of the site, which much further away, we have a wider view angle. They've offered 4 green giants, not even running the extent of both my property and my neighbors. They've provided renderings which demonstrate the sparseness or ineffectiveness of these plantings. In these renderings in their executive summary responses, you can see kind of the playscape through the proposed trees. I would just ask that for other comments, they're denser, staggered, mixed species and variety to really offer an adequate buffer. The parking area here, many municipalities would require X number of shade trees, landscaping, varieties per number of parking space to essentially soften the parking lot, shield it from view, etc. So just to echo kind of all of the general grading concerns. The applicant has also provided specification for lighting, site lighting. The executive summary described that the photometric plan provided photometric studies for both site lighting and building lighting, but the plans do not actually include any building lighting. I assume that will be necessary just for safety, egress code reasons. But the other thing to note, the current specification of the light is not in fact dark sky compliant because it is specified at 4,000 Kelvin. To meet dark sky requirements, it needs to be 3,000 Kelvin maximum and should also be equipped with fall off shields. So these things are completely available in the specification provided with a tweak of the actual spec. Question. In the sort of reorganization of the site, they've moved the guard booth deeper into the site. I appreciate that, even though the applicant has stated that the guard booth would not be in use during camp, i.e. would not cause backlog of vehicles entering the site. But there is a gate shown on, I think, the main site plan, and I just question, in the event that somebody trying to go to the playscape or otherwise enter the facility meets this gate in a downward position, there's no turnaround. And what are they expected to do? Reverse out? So that's kind of an operational question. Generally, we encounter calculations of volumetric fill excavation for any type of project. I don't see any calculations on these proposals, don't see them reflected in the summaries. There has to be a substantial amount of grading going on, even if you look at just small pockets of space, but there's going to be a lot of movement of earth. And I imagine that even the conservation department would be interested in that. So essentially, I think these are great improvements. We would ask for more buffer and really an additional look at drainage. Applicant is committed to maintaining status quo, effectively not improving or worsening the conditions, maintaining discharge to Rubber Avenue, but they are going to certainly be increasing speed velocity of watershed because the grades are getting extremely heightened and there's no capture point. So all of that water in a higher velocity is now going to be shedding onto Rubber Avenue, which they've stated doesn't have the municipal capacity to do a traditional tie-in. So that worries me because all of that water is pointing right at my property. And I don't know what recourse we have in the event that we suddenly flood after this development happens. That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment?
My person. This property, its longest border. I don't know what the property borders. And it's topped as like a Boy Scout camp or something like that, which other than kids making a little bit of noise, will not do it. It's a rental, it's the rule. It's the problem. And the amphitheater, some other things, draw a lot of people in. And you're not paying any attention to what you're placing. That side, I own 75 acres, the border entirely electric. And there's a kind of getting as close as you could. On the other side, there's no. So we need to that way. The intention of the industry it's well intentioned. However, it's not turning out that way. It's something that the function have to be against. But how it's brought about is somewhat of a disaster. Drainage is a gigantic problem. It has been. I've only been there for 81 years. And it's always been a problem. It's steep. And Tom will be able to stop. So to detour onto next. And that's what I want to do. This is on the road. That road coming up the hill. I'm not an engineer, I'm to do the problem, so I can see that left and asphalt roads. My whole life. If our weather here is fixed, structure, but I think most of the road, which is it's all the time. On time, everything. We have a water issue, really. And this is a perfect example of trying to put a smoke screen over it. A gravel driveway on a very steep incline and running a pipe beneath it and then putting it into a gravel catch basin. Is that supposed to be this way? I don't think so. You should not go to anyone until you get the hole. Don't really seem to care. That's right. This isn't right. Then again, do something about drainage on this. As houses up the street from us, and you get a good place in order to. Because they did it now. It's right over the bank. And runs down the driveway. What is the idea?
Now, address the commission.
What is the benefit of the driveway? Does it work well? No. Everybody knows with a dirt road, it's the same thing. If you push enough so it doesn't wash away, don't drive on the damn thing, because there's no to do that. The other thing is, I've got 3 different areas. The water by itself, man-made drainages, is something going. And that's what I use. I don't look forward to lawsuits and anything else in the future. I decided we've done my whole life, slowly doing it. And there was somebody who was going to build housing project. So I thought this. Or another piece. Then the next thing. Now I have that. And next to me was another business that was being funded. And I couldn't flag that because of so forth. And it won't have that effect. Why? I'm not looking at the collection of garbage. I'm not anti. Not by a long shot. I'm sure most of the neighbors do. But it go. Don't people down the road? It's so.
Hi, Dave Rogers, 100 Hill Road. I'm the chief volunteer officer at the YMCA. And I don't know, did anybody here go to Camp Naboka? The YMCA, Naugatuck YMCA had a camp out in Oxford called Camp Naboka. I have some fabulous memories from there. And that's all we're really trying to do with the Y is to provide another fabulous place for Naugatuck and surrounding communities. And we'll do everything we can to meet all reasonable suggestions. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Kate Kimball, 1057 Andrew Mountain Road. I'll keep this short and sweet. I just wanted to say that I'm honored to join the meeting tonight. I'm in support of this project. I think it's a great idea for our town. We have 2 small children. Activities are limited. We would love for them to join a camp. Our property is very close to this area. I think some concerns that residents in that area have communicated to me have been some issues with the landscaping, which it seems like we're discussed tonight. The parking, the lower parking area and the playscape, which also seems like that is maybe shifting. And then I think that a lot of people have come to me about is the 2-story event center and whether that there's too much in the commercial versus keep that from the people that serve.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that'd like to make a comment? Go ahead.
I probably brought up the gravel road, and that is a legitimate concern. Again, typical for our campsite, we're dealing with a very steep hill. And gravel roads settle, compact, troughs on both sides, and they distort over time. It's very difficult to maintain positive drainage when you have that kind of motion. You have a piece of asphalt that has some degree of distortion and settling, but not like a gravel drive. So again, over time, you usually have those 2 tire troughs going on. So your drainage is no longer happening positively towards where it's supposed to go. It's being funneled into those 2 trenches. And then you actually have a conduit that goes straight down to the road. And of course, it carries the gravel with it. So a quick thing to think about is that also at the base, there's some sort of barrier to prevent that washout into the street. I haven't actually given it a great deal of thought because it just occurred to me right now, but we actually grew up with a gravel driveway, and after every storm, all that gravel was out in Roper Avenue. We have to sweep it up. So just something to consider, because again, it's 3,000 feet of gravel. And what I just said is a fact. It's not something that's going to be like an asphalt road that is crowned or pitched. Over time, it does its own thing.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to make a comment?
Something, because I haven't had a chance to point at the actual plans. here. This is the top of the mountain. Now, this is this area that I'm talking about. It's that correct over here. We get something so that I can show. There you go. That's better. Okay. Here, you get all this. You got all the stuff we talked about. Over here, you can't quite see it because the map doesn't go over here. But we've got Andrew Mountain Road. It's pretty close right in here. It's right down through here. And you see these, even these lines. You're a professional here, so don't move the grade. But as you can see by the way they spread out, okay, that's not as steep. This is steeper. And right along this line here, and I believe, I'm not 100% sure, I believe this is even the Walmart's property, so I'm sure they'd be more happy to help out with this as far as, coming in here or trying to build something up here. And again, my family is interested in cooperating. And so, look, I'm going to draw it for you here. You can see for yourself. And you're home free. Okay? The only thing you don't get to have is this parking lot where everybody can come off Rubber Avenue and pass drugs or have a drinking session. Because that's what's going to happen there at night, off the road. Over here, you're over up where everything's happening. Nobody can sit in a parking lot by themselves and make any kind of trouble. And you've got a nice, easy pathway in here. I showed it to you. And it seems to work. And with all this building up here, before, they were trying to work with the landscape, I can understand. My sister actually mentioned to me, this is rather steep here. You're going to have some troubles meeting the grade requirements. But if we're going to go and truck dirt in to make this work, then you can truck dirt in to make this work as well. And I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem because if you look at this, it kind of pitches back through. There is a waterway down through our property here. It doesn't affect us. We have no intentions of doing anything with it. And to try to work with the water that's coming off this very small project in comparison, it just works a lot better. It works a lot better. It's a lot simpler. And we're getting away from all of this. Do we really want to deal with all of this? Doesn't make sense to me.
All right. Anybody else from the public want to make a comment? Yep.
First of all, thank you for all the comments to everybody. I really appreciate it. One thing I get to talk about is cul-de-sacs. There's no cul-de-sacs on this project. So one thing I know about cul-de-sacs, as we know, are typically part of the subdivision. There are no row houses along the side of it. And a lot of stuff does have a regulation. I think the subdivision regulation is 1,000 feet. But when you're servicing your one parcel with a driveway, it's not a cul-de-sac, and there's no limitation on the driveway. So that's essentially what we have. I know some of the comments about drainage have been addressed by Mr. Stewart's comments, and those we have talked about a little bit further. And we did have some discussions about Mr. Ward, Tom Ward's comments about the property on the top. We have looked at it a little bit. Maintaining and utilizing the property for what we have to work at this point. And of course, continue to have discussions. Any discussions about regarding the drainage, the concerns of the neighbors, certainly will do that as well. In landscape buffer plans, the intention was always to do it in a manner that was providing the property buffer. In other words, a mix of deciduous and evergreen trees, which would enhance buffers along the property line, certainly looking at what's going on the neighborhood, being a good neighbor sense, it always makes sense. So those items are certainly things we're going to look at, as well as the responding to Mr. Stewart's comments, which I think addresses a lot of questions really relate to the drainage issues. No, I'd rather. So we'll be back in a second.
All right, so before I leave, Kevin, you guys watch the videos from the hearing that you missed?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So then we're going to ask for an extension for the YMCA.
Mr. Chairman, I was so proactive last meeting. I kind of thought we were going to go all the way to December. I gave a 65-day extension at the October 15th meeting, which oddly enough brings out to, if my toes were right and my fingers were right, 63 days, which is the next meeting, December 7th.
And we'll start at 6:05. Okay.
Perfect.
let's open the public hearing for the Field Street interior lots.
So,
Just let her rip.
You have the green cards.
Yeah, ouch.
my name,
Hold on a second.
I just need to recuse myself from this application, not motion, but I retained my right.
Why don't we take a couple-minute recess since Kevin just left the room?
Okay.
For the record, my name is Dave Davis. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Davis and Young Engineers. When I'm here with Total Construction. They're looking to do 11 lot subdivision on Field Street. The total parcel is about 12.3 acres, and we're divided into 11 lots. 9 of them on the road, and 2 of them will be rear lots set in the back. That's been approved already. Look at it. Part of what we're doing is we have to run a sewer Field Street all the way up to here and allow for any kind of connections for any parcels across the street between ours. We have to, we're gonna, as part of it, we're gonna be repaving pretty much the whole road, but we're gonna widen the road, so it's, our half of the road is 15 feet from the center line. And then that'll give it a little bit wider shoulder. Except up in this little area up here, because there's a couple poles that are almost like moving right on the road now. Can't really widen that section, you get guide wires and things. On this plan, if you look, you'll see the green, the lighter green areas here. This is the area that we're gonna be clearing. The rest of the dark green stuff, where all the wetlands are, we're just gonna leave that in natural. There's not gonna be any, we're not gonna be doing any disturbance in those areas. Each lot will have its own infiltration system that'll be connected to the roof leaders. So that'll handle and maintain from flows and runoff peak rates from 2 through 100-year storms. So each lot will have its own, so we don't have to put a big detention pond in. Each of those lots will be required to maintain each of their systems as part of their ownership of that piece of property. We have sidewalks coming in and then all the utilities. The rear lots have been approved by the fire marshal. We're going to put a drivable portion of the road here so they can come in and loop around if they have to, and that'll have an easement back and forth. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
So where's Hillside at? So the hillside's all the way to the right.
This is Mill right here.
That's what?
This is Mill. This is the intersection. This is the park right here.
Okay, so that's okay. So
Hillside's
Hill's
very
over
right.
all the way to the edge. You take a left. So what's it right after the house, the existing houses, right where there's like 2 or 3 houses? Okay.
It's about where the wording is on the bottom right corner.
Yeah, these last houses, I think, right here.
Okay. All right.
And then this is all
Okay, I
park.
got
This is
it. I
all
got
park.
it. Yeah, okay, I got it.
And this is just that this is the type of houses they're looking to build on lots. So you can kind of get an idea of what they were looking to look like. Other than that, it's pretty much straightforward. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So before you have a couple of questions, I'll just go over the basic things. This has gone before all the other commissions. Planning gave it a positive referral. And Fire Commission, Police Commission both gave their reviews and had no issues or concerns. This project is still before the Wetlands Commission.
Okay.
So therefore, we're not able to close this hearing until we get our final from them. We are not looking at the entire subdivision. We are only looking at the 2 interior lots. This is the zoning commission, not the planning commission. The planning commission will be looking at all 11. In your packet, I had sent you out, and I highlighted the 2 lots, so you knew. So this is only a special permit requirement for 2 interior lots. We're granted the potential use of 2 interior lots. Then they would be able to go before the planning commission, who would discuss everything from drainage to sidewalks to all the others, because they're the ones that deal with subdivisions, not zoning commission. What I did provide for you that I could hand out is from our zoning regulations, specifics in regard to special permit process, and then are things that state about interior lots. And I did provide in your packet a review to you stating all the other commissions, what they've done, and what the size of these lots are, what the requirements are. And one thing I did want to point out, in one of the lots, the lot that is in green on the map that I gave to you guys, it's a little, you can see where it says R8, R15. For some reason, in our unknown ways, we decided to throw in an R8 section in the middle there, which makes it a little confusing. So if you look at that house that's in the green, it's actually in an R8 zone, but they have shown everything on here for the requirements of our zoning regs for an R15 location, meaning that an interior lot, the front setback or the entire setback all the way around has to be the same as the front street setback. So in part of this, you could argue that part of it could be 25 feet, which is the R8 front street setback. And then in the R15 zone, it would have to be 30 feet. They've done 30 feet all the way around it. So So I will hand that out to you guys. Those are the things that you would be looking at on this commission, is again, the 2 interior lots. We're not looking at the rest of them because that's another commission's purview. So the front page is the specifics about a special permit, what we're supposed to look at. And then the second 2 pages, I had highlighted where it starts with interior lots, and the requirements our zoning regs has for sizes of interior lots. And again, this could be discussed next month if you want, because you can't vote. I would suggest that you take a look at that stuff.
Question, guys?
No, sir.
All right, so do we want to have the public comment or do we want to? All right, I will open up for the public comment. Does anyone from the public want to comment on this? State your name, write your address.
My name is Tom Sullivan, and I live on 122 Field Street, which right here. So these 2 lots, or these 2 homes, are going to be directly behind the house. Has this land even been surveyed yet? Because they're kind of looking for flags or stakes or something, so I don't know. driveway that will go alongside my house. Here, all the way back to this house. But I believe that they also have to have a turnaround, which is going to be this one, I guess, in case of a fire issue, an engine having to get in there and out. So they'll have to do some sort of turnaround so that an engine can get in there and out. So I'm just curious as to how long that driveway is. Because currently, this area right here fills in with water. It's a vernal pool, and it's seasonal, so it could stay filled for a couple of months, and then during the summer, when there is no rain, it could dry out. So we are waiting, as we mentioned, for the wetlands decision, and I guess they were going to reflag that as well. So the other issue becomes the street itself. See, I think I'm up to put my third mailbox up there. This road, since it's been repaved, they did a great job on repaving, except it's the high banks of Talladega. 50, 60 miles an hour. I've lost 3 mailboxes. And when I'm out getting my mail, I don't step out in front of that mailbox unless I'm looking both ways and nothing's coming. They're not moving over. As I walk down to go over to Bonner's Pond, twice I've had to jump up on that Mullane's wall. Turn so fast. So I don't know if the traffic study was done, because a lot of people live on it. So this road is a thoroughfare to get over Rubber Avenue. So there's all kinds of traffic issues there. The grade in both of these. So they're going to be in the back of me, but I'm going to be downhill. So where's that water going to go? Are we going to grade it back into the wetlands? Or are we going to grade it back over to my house, where I actually left pictures with the Wetlands Commission meeting. Where the water has filled in over there, come down through the whole, this whole lot right here, and come right up to the foundation. So that's a whole issue. So those are my concerns right now. I guess the other pieces are more of a, say, of a personal nature. My 2025 tax bill was $10,264. I purchased water. So for to build houses, in people's backyards, I have to sit on my deck and I'm living from somebody else's house. So kind of like mentally signed off. Take that all into consideration. I get that they want to build these houses in here. No big water issues that we can deal with. But these lots here, take those things into consideration. I'm hoping that you do. The values of our homes have gone up. You can see this is because mine goes down. Okay. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else want to comment from the public?
Emily 105 Field Street, she says you're gonna widen the road, and where's that start? Rose Street? It looks like the road.
We'll
Widen the road.
Well, that's generally something that would be before the planning commission, not before this
Okay,
commission.
but if that was the point, how wide would it be?
Again, that's not something that this commission would have before.
All right, thank you.
anyone else from the public like to comment?
Hi, Sheila Palmer, I'm at 211 Field Street. So I'm on the other side of the road at the corner of Field and Mill, that house with the red barn. I don't know if any of you live around us, but Tom's description of the road is absolutely perfect. And adding more cars, more driveways, more people trying to pull out onto what is insane fast road is dangerous. It's really hard to get in and out of driveways as it is on all sides of the development. So that is something that it's adding a lot of problems. And the other thought is, I know interior lots aren't unique to Naugatuck. I know that other towns have them, but I know we have a lot of them. I just always thought it was a really bad idea to put houses in back of other houses, just aesthetically. And I feel for the people that are going to have these houses in their backyards. It's just, I know it's legally okay and regulations, they've met all the regulations, but I just always thought it was a little off. So.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? So you'll respond to their questions at the next meeting?
Well, I can respond to the, quickly for the road.
Whatever you'd like to do.
We could be widening the road basically. It's gonna be 15, we're gonna make it, from the center line, we're gonna make it so it comes out to 15 feet wide on that one side. On our side, it's gonna be the whole length of the base of the subdivision. So
which road are you widening?
basically, it's gonna be Field Street up to pretty much Mill, and then after, once you get to Mill and start going up the hill, because we have poles and guide wires almost like right on the pavement, there's really nowhere to really widen that part of the road. But we'll be widening on this side all the way up to pretty much that intersection, maybe just a little bit beyond.
And how much?
How many feet? It's gonna be from the center line to where the pavement is now, 15 feet over. So it could vary. I think that on average, we're looking at around 3 feet or so for the whole length.
And again, that will all be done through the planning commission, the subdivision that we're talking about, side, we're talking about other things.
So we'll continue the public hearing till 6:10. What's the
December 17th.
6:10, December 17th, to a special permit application for the 2 interior lots for the property located at 0 Field Street, account number 001-3801, applicant versus Total Construction. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna open the public hearing for special permit at 187 Forest Hills for Forest Street. Special permit application for the addition of 2,000 cubic yards of earth material to the residential lot for the property located at 187 Forest Street. Applicant Matthew Tino. During opens 11/19/2025, and must close by 12/24/25 unless restrictions are otherwise waived.
Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Matthew Patino, Vincent Waste, Connecticut. So.
We don't.
Okay.
So they have a plan in front of them. They have a plan.
Before you get going, do you have the green cards? Do you have the
certified?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take that.
This is just, was it?
Yeah, I'll take that. Exclusive. Yeah.
So. We're proposing to bring in 1,750 cubic yards of fill to raise the current grade so we can have a very flat grade to put in a patio in the backyard. And a pool. patio and a pool.
I did send out to you, in your packet, there was a revised narrative where he's reduced from 2,000 cubic yards down to 1,750 cubic yards. And I did send out drawings to you. If you take a look at the drawings, there is a new, they're building a new house, pretty close to being done at this point. And they intend on putting fill around it. All right?
Can I approach and kind of show you? So this area right here, this area that is hashed is all the area that's going to be getting filled. And then this is the area in the wetlands. And it's also going to be receiving fill.
In the upland review area.
Sorry. Sorry. And this is just the general site plan. This is more of a fill plan and that is the general site plan.
So he does have, the wetlands did approve the plan for the fill in the upland review area. Not all the fill is going to be in the upland review area.
Correct.
That's also part of it that was discussed at the wetlands meeting. So this has gone before all the other commissions. Wetlands did grant their permit. They were, again, the most important one. Police commission was all set. Fire commission approved it. Planning commission gave it a positive referral. And my only take on this was that it is a large amount of fill. And I understand the goal of flattening out the yard and putting in the pool and whatnot. Is that we get a spreadsheet provided to us. Once you're done with the house and you're going to your final CO, because I think you probably get your CO before you put the pool in, or I more than likely, because I don't know, when are you intending to put the pool in?
So we intend to put the pool in April, kind of when it gets warmer to shoot the gunite. And we're planning on getting the CO in February, so yeah.
Yeah, so my advice would be, and I put this in the motion, is that we get a spreadsheet from you of the amount of fill that you've brought in so far through your CO of the house, your certificate of occupancy, because we go out and close out the new construction permit and stuff like that. And then after, when we'll have an amount from you, and then you'll provide us an amount once you then bring it in.
Yeah.
Unless you're planning to bring everything in beforehand.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
we
it's
would like
possible.
to, yeah, we would like to, like, during construction, if we get approval, to start bringing in fill, just because a couple of the areas in the driveway need the fill, and that is an area that requires a lot of fill, so we would want to.
So I guess what I'm stating is if it's your intention to have all the fill in prior to you getting your CO, then I would get the number. We will get, you'll provide us exactly how much you want.
Okay, yeah, I could do it.
If you're going to put in fill after you get your CO, you would have to provide us that amount.
Okay, I could,
So,
yeah, I could provide
you
you
understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
So we know.
What's the total amount?
The total amount right now is 1,750, so 1,750 cubic yards.
It was reduced from the 2,000.
Yeah.
Down to 1,750. And that was, there were some changes made at the wetlands hearings.
Yeah, so.
Change around where the pool was.
Yeah, the orientation was changed into horizontal, to go horizontal with the house. Before it was vertical, so it just like elongated the backyard patio. So we just changed the orientation, reduced the patio, and then reduced the overall.
Any questions, commissioners?
No, sir.
And I'll, I don't think there's any, well, you're gonna have to, it's a hearing, so I don't think there's anybody from the public.
The public want to comment? Is there anyone from the public that would want to comment?
Oh, I'll also say Jim Stewart reviewed all this and he was heavily involved in the wetlands part of it, so he has no issue with this.
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit
Did you-
application.
did you close
1750
Rick,
Close the hearing.
Close the hearing at 7:59 on November 19th, 2025. I'll make a motion to approve the special permit application to add 1750 cubic yards of earth material for the property located at 187 4th Street, applicant Matthew Patino, with the following conditions. The applicant shall provide a summary spreadsheet of earth material calculating the entire amount of fill that was added to the property prior to the final approval for the new construction for the residents and prior to the construction of the in-ground pool to the Naugatuck land use.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye. Opposed? Good luck, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. We're earning our money tonight, huh? Yes, we are.
Have a good night.
I'm gonna open the public hearing, 6:20. Special permit application for a retail auto shop for the property located at 32 Rubber Avenue, applicant Town Fair Tire. Public hearing opens 11/19/25. Must close by 12/24/25 unless extension is requested.
Mr. Chair. My name is Jim Rotundo. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Career Engineering. Located at One Enterprise Drive in Shelton. I'm here tonight representing Town Fair Tire for their special permit application. Also attending on Zoom is John Wojciechowski, who is the Town Fair Director of Real Estate and Development. John is out of town, so he was not able to be here tonight in person. Town Fair Tire is proposing a new location on property at 32 Rubber Avenue. There are currently 2 buildings on the site. There's the Advanced Auto Parts and the former Rite Aid building. Town Fair is looking to occupy approximately 8,292 square feet of the existing building. The existing building is approximately 12,577 square feet. The remaining area will be open for a separate tenant. The interior is the floor area for Town Fair. They're proposing area in front of the store, which is their sales area, of approximately 5,167 square feet. And the service area to the rear is about 2,799 square feet. Hours of operation for the store will be Mondays 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Tuesday through Friday 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and they are closed on Sundays. There will be no modifications to the footprint of the building. The existing footprint will remain. Interior modifications will be made within that Town Fair Tire to accommodate their use.
The garage doors are on the Brook side?
That's correct. That's just getting to that. There are 6 overhead doors being proposed on the rear of the building. 5 of those doors will access a bay to padlets, which essentially do all their tire service, with the 6th bay is for tire alignments. There are no other repairs that Town Fair does, such as brake jobs, oil changes. It's strictly tire. They're also proposing a 15 by 30 tire cage. The used tires get stored in that tire cage, and they're typically picked up like once a week. All existing driveways, parking areas will be maintained in the existing condition, and there's no exterior sidewalk. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So just a few of the housekeeping things. Again, the police commission approved this at their October 21st meeting. Fire commission approved it at their November 10th meeting. Planning commission gave it a positive referral at their November 3rd meeting. Inlands, wetlands was administrative report because they were outside of the 100-foot upland review area with the building, because the building was already pre-existing from when it was Rite Aid. But I believe when Rite Aid was built, that building for Rite Aid, it was a 50-foot upland review, 100-foot still, the building is outside of it. And then there is no water pollution control right now because they've already got connected to the sewer system. In the future, if someone was to come, you're not purchasing the building, correct?
No, that's correct.
So it would be a potential tenant on the backside where the drive-through window for the Rite Aid had them, essentially back there. And we did have them update the site plan they sent to us, reflecting the roundabout area with the taking of the land up in that upper corner. And as noted, there's already an auto parts store on that parcel, and this is an allowed use in the B1 zone.
Chain link fence is already there.
The one which one are you referring to?
One,
Along the back of the property?
yes.
Yes, that's all existing. We're not, as I indicated, we're not proposing, other than outside of the building, other than the tire cage, we're not proposing any improvements.
And what about lighting?
It says, we did receive comments from the town engineer, and which we reviewed and we're in agreement with those. One of those had to do with additional lighting on the back of the building.
Okay.
Also, he had mentioned about making sure this is a one-way, and it already is a one-way where the garages are from current use.
It is currently one way. It'll be maintained. We'll stripe it in accordance with the town engineer's comments.
Anything else, commissioners? No, sir. All right, then let me close the hearing. Oh, is there anyone from the public that would like to comment?
Come on, say something.
All right, I can close the hearing at Wednesday, November 19th, 8:06. Make a motion to approve the special permit application for the retail tire store for the property located at 32 River Avenue, applicant Tom Kerr Tire.
Because they're already doing it. Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Good luck, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, still there?
Oh, he hung up.
Yep. No, I'm there.
I'm just curious.
Any idea when you may be opening up? Question was asked.
Probably or spring of 26. By the time we get the permits, we start, remodeling in late December, early January, and open in March.
Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right.
Why did you pick those?
What was that?
I think when they made this deal, it was probably 4 months ago.
Before Zeller went out.
Zeller went out. And I think they made a deal with several Rite Aid locations, because Rite Aid closed.
Yes.
So I think they were doing like 6 or 7 Rite Aids.
Wow. Good. It works. All right, so what else we got?
6.
Chairman's report, commissioners, any comments?
No comment. For me.
Oh, yes, I have more, but I just don't have time to put them together. The House Bill 8002 passed, last week, I think it was. It's horrible housing bill, horrible housing bill. The governor hasn't vetoed it yet, but he's expected to pass it, not veto it.
Now, he vetoed it last time. Do you know what was the big change this time that stopped it?
Honestly, it got worse. He had an outcry against it, and there was one part of the bill, he wasn't happy with it. So it was expected that they were gonna be called back into special session to do this all over again. But, you know.
I'm sorry, I don't know what this bill is. I have no idea.
It's removing a lot of zoning rights. It's 104 pages worth of issues. It's basically giving the state the power to come in and take any state property here or anywhere in the entire state and put housing. So it's.
Well, we don't have any say in that.
It's
No.
also, well,
And parking, that will be.
And he wants to be our governor again.
well, it's also seems that it made it easier for commercial properties to switch over to residential.
Right,
It's
so for
easily,
example,
without local oversight.
yeah, exactly,
Wow.
right. So for example, the plaza,
Mountford Plaza.
yeah, you could probably expect to see low-income housing there if a deal is struck. I mean, it's not state property, so they can't come and take that, but, the state is going to have a lot more power, and it's bypassing us. We're gonna have to rewrite some of our zoning, regulations.
Yeah, I've seen some comments out there that are,
It's terrible.
that it's a lot of work that some zoning commissions are gonna have to do in a very short time.
Yeah.
And,
And if
and
you,
we're gonna have to wait to see what COG really gives us on this.
and if you don't comply, you know, you'll be punished.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is that there's a lot of opt-in and opt-out provisions again, which gets very confusing.
Right, but that's the little fishing game
Sure.
of you can opt in or opt out, but if
Right.
you opt out, we're gonna come in and do it a different way. So it's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's a strict housing bill, and we're hoping that COG will dissect it for us to explain.
Well, COG is the one that has been in partnership with the governor and the Dems in the legislature to push this through. You'll hear often about it's a bipartisan bill. Well, it is not a bipartisan
The
bill.
lies,
The
lies continue.
the Republican legislature had no say, and the fact that none of this happened with public hearings. Just done.
That's the way it is when you all never source.
But I did hear that it was made it a lot easier for commercial properties to switch over
Mhm.
to residential.
And nonprofits can come in and have their housing. We don't say anything about it, can't we? That's what I have to say. Sorry, it's a.
Anything else?
Yeah, we talked briefly with Ned in regard to Silver Ridge.
Yeah.
That seems to be coming back up. I had some questions on that because it looks as if they're selling now the individual parcels of where the houses could be built. Instead of selling it to one person to build the rest of 13 units, they've now got it out to the real estate broker selling each one individually. So we've got calls about that.
Can they do that?
On Mill Street, where we did the
That one?
RA2 zone. So the person that wanted to develop the whole thing just got tired and backed away from that group. And so I wanted to make sure, well, what's really our responsibility here now? Because there's a lot of deed covenants as to what size a house can be and how big it can be and stuff like that. There was the sticking point before with the guy coming in.
Right.
And we haven't followed through on the change, zone change.
We are planning
Okay,
for the other ones we're talking about.
Okay.
That's not the same one, but
okay,
the one on Field and,
Yeah. On Field and
not Mill, no,
This is Mill Valley,
Mill Street.
down by.
On the hill there by Jessica Mills.
Oh.
It was the over 55, and the over 55 got taken out. We changed it to an R2 zone, so there was, supposedly it was 20. 20, there's 7 that are built, and 13 more individual squares that are supposed to be built. And now they're selling them individually. Squares.
It's like they're selling a condo, freestanding condos, basically.
So I wanted to make sure, well, how do we do this now with this? Because it's,
Right,
there's deep covenants and stuff.
right.
The other thing was just, I toyed back and forth with this Town Fair Tire as to whether or not it should be a change of use, or if it was just retail to retail. But then in talking with them, I said, you know what, let's make sure, because of the wetlands change and this and that, let's go through the special permit process, and they have a problem with it.
I can't believe all they do is just tires. They don't even change oil.
Correct.
Wow.
That's why they're in a lot of, if you notice, they're in a lot of strip classes.
Yeah.
Not in, you know, because they're not doing the fluid stuff. But they have to have all those catches, you know,
Throwing it.
it's just tire stripped. Not even brakes. They'll do tire alignments, you know, so the front end alignments, because that's what's needed at the time. That's what I have.
All right, so there's nothing else. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Happy Thanksgiving. Opposed? Happy Festive.
So I will tell you, if you have a chance, take a look at the